Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Angela Kilford tōku ingoa. The world has changed dramatically since I was a secondary school student and has changed just as much since I graduated design school. The university has had to adapt in the delivery and content of our curriculum to meet the challenges presented to us by the climate emergency. This has meant the development of courses to allow students to explore materials and textile design from a position of sustainability. In the first year Material Studio, students are prompted by a quote by designer Andrea Cancielato. People see materials all around, but they seldom look at them closely. It's incredible what new universes you can discover by asking yourself, what is this made of? Materials surround us in varying layers of proximity, silently taking care of one or more aspect of our comfort and well-being. Cancielato says our world is material and brings our attention to the fact that the properties and function of these materials are often taken for granted. But it is not only their properties that are taken for granted, the ongoing availability and sustainability of materials and how we source, process, and dispose of them has also been overlooked. The contemporary challenge to designers is not only to realise the functional, aesthetic and performative potential of materials, but to also consider the wider impact of their production and use. The current call for a more resourceful and resilient relationship with our material world has seen a growth in material research and development, inspiring designers, technologists and scientists to imagine, explore and realise new and exciting materials. In response to this brief, students create a range of new experimental materials using a number of different traditional and non-traditional textile processes. From a range of material experiments, a direction is selected to develop further into a final material. The Wellington Botanic Garden Ki Pai Kaka exhibition has become an annual event. Taking inspiration from the garden collections, a group of Massey students, second year textile students, explored methods of drawing colour, textile applications and botany research. This exhibition honours the timeless presence botany plays in the world of textile design and how it has continued to lend itself to an endless variety of translations. The exhibition features the students' refined collections, a showcase of their advancements in surface pattern design and textile applications such as dye, polychromatic dye techniques and screen print. For most of these students, it was their first time learning about traditional textile pattern networks such as the brick repeat, scatter or Swiss repeats. For some this was rather challenging, especially when the presence of digital technology can be so overbearing and eliminate parts of the natural experience that prominent textile artists such as Lucian Day and William Morris would have revelled in. However, one of the most valuable learnings these students achieved during their design journey was acknowledging and critically thinking about the impact and agency their positions as emerging textile designers can have on the environment and their design work. Textiles as sustainable resources and architectural solutions and clothing resources have a long history going back to Paleolithic times, representing an archetypal form of green material that has endured to the present day. Within the Textile Material Lab, students are introduced to the identification and testing of materials for design and performance. Students analyse innovative, technical and industrial materials for a wide range of design products and contexts through workshops and interaction with industry. In the material change brief, students respond to the notion of kaitiakitanga, the ideas of guardianship or stewardship, as well as whakapapa, genealogy, to embed long-term thinking or the passing of knowledge, ideas, prestige or resources from one generation to the next, working to leave them in a better state than they received them. In other words, how they as designers can respond personally to kaitiakitanga and whakapapa in relation to local fibres and or material innovations related to waste, recovering resources and designing and making materials. Textile Material Lab students Lucy Grinfield and Amber Mumford produced this biomaterial named Seagrow. The students say that Seagrow is a bioplastic made completely from sustainably sourced plant-based materials, including 3 different forms of algae, additives, spirulina and sea lettuce, and biopolymer agar. It has been created with a key focus of being able to return to the biosphere through use. Seagrow's intended use is for various interior living spaces to surround plants and provide them with useful soil amendments as they grow. This use holds key values of whakapapa as the bioplastic is able to promote circularity by helping new plants grow through its own biodegradation and consequent return to the biosphere. In conclusion, the use of algae and bioplastics is a critical part of creating ecological design. Through the use of these plant-based materials, we're able to offer solutions to problems caused by overconsumption of plastic and create biodegradable products with far more life-enhancing properties. Sustainable education at Massey is supported by sustainable research practices. The key collaborations that supported this study were between university-based textile design researchers, an independent artist, designer, researcher and activist, an expert in traditional harakeke weaving, an agricultural research institute, and a forestry biomaterials research institute. The pilot study, undertaken over a 6-month period, included an initial literature review, processing trials focusing on the production of a small collection of non-woven prototype materials, and also qualitative evaluation of the materials using evolving models of experiential characterization. Within this collaborative context, shared experience and knowledge of hands-on engagement with fibres, including traditional Māori and European fibre processing and weaving techniques, provided the main vehicle for the work. Through a practical focus on material sampling, the different knowledge bases brought by each researcher worked organically together. The sampling trials resulted in a small collection of initial prototype materials which provided a starting point for further creative exploration and design development. As seen here and in the exhibition, we're able to achieve a range of material qualities from smooth surfaces with some lustre to more fibrous textured materials. And some of the materials could be described as bioplastics or composites as much as non-wovens. Currently, there is a strong focus on elevating the value of strong wool within the textile department. As you may know, the Campaign for Wool is working hard to reinstate strong wool as a preferred fibre for vast applications. Stacey Ellis's embroidered textiles were created from waste wool as a Massey University Master of Design project in partnership with Wool Yarns Limited. This sustainable venture proved the worth of strong wool waste beyond its common use as building insulation.
I spoke to Neil Mackey and John Hubbard from Wool Yarns in Wellington, who are a local Wellington spinning manufacturer, and they said that they had soft waste and hard waste that I could receive from their manufacturing process. Majority of the waste wool fibre that is produced from Wool Yarns is recycled or reused in some way, and the most common way of doing this is to create household insulation. And so I sought for alternative ways to reuse this fibre to create textiles for the interior that were viewed to be seen rather than concealed in the walls. Honestly, the best bit about it was that when you first received the fibre, it was sort of like, what can I do with this? And there were so many people that were sceptical that you couldn't actually create something further from what is already produced. So I used both digital technologies and traditional textile craft construction techniques. So I used weaving and felting and macrame as the craft techniques, and digital embroidery and an AVL loom, which is a digital computerised loom. So I was able to create both upholstery fabrics and apparel fabrics that were both suitable for different applications depending on the type of yarn that it was.
I'd like to finish with this Bachelor of Design honours project, which explores pre-consumer textile waste through transforming it into new fabric compositions. Imogen collected unwanted textile waste from Massey's fashion and textile departments to ensure its effective use and to keep it local. Her work pushes the boundaries of what upcycling can look like through print, natural dye and embroidery to create a dialogue between pre-consumer textile waste and the formal elements of colour, shape and placement. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm now going to hand you over to Sue Prescott from Massey University's Fashion Design Program.
So, I'm Sue Prescott and Programme Leader of Fashion at Massey. This project is a great segue into fashion following Angela's textile presentation. The project you can see is a collaborative final year project by Kristen Meekland from Fashion and Olivia Ball from Textiles, and the collection is garments made using post-consumer waste. They use a maximalist aesthetic to boldly emphasise the abundance of excess man-made waste. Environmental well-being, a love of unorthodox materials as well as colour were the main drivers behind this work. And they wanted to create fashion to excite people whilst also stimulating ideas for new ways of making. They combined traditional and very unconventional methods of making, including sequins, which were hand-punched from aluminium cans, food packaging and fabric scraps, which were woven together in graphic patterns, as you can see in the appliqued area on the shoulder. With collaboration and partnerships being in the DNA of Massey University, this zero waste project called Make Use is a collaborative project involving both students and staff, and it was led by my former colleague Holly McQuillan. Make Use predominantly responded to the textile waste generated by inefficient pattern-making processes used in garment manufacturing, where over 150 million square metres of textile wastage occurs daily due to inefficient pattern-making processes. So the zero waste pattern design begins to address this issue by producing garments with a 100% fabric yield, thus eliminating this waste stream. Students are very excited about zero waste processes here at Massey, and they devise lots of new systems to consume waste, as well as tessellating garment patterns to create maximum yields. And predominantly we're doing this via Adobe Illustrator as our software, and if this needs to be upscaled for production, we then take it forward into Gerber technology through our AccuMark pattern design software, and then we also take it forward into a digital prototyping software called Clo3D, where students can prototype patterns and garments all digitally, which saves lots of fabric and paper waste. In this short clip, you can see a key concept of manipulating tubular volumes, which make all zero waste garments, by either considering the placement of the neckline on the tube and the effect this may have on the cloth, or through the manipulation of the tube forms by rotating and moving volume around. Any of the basic 3D forms can be changed, which provides great freedom and design opportunities. In his Miramoda collection, Jacob Kuti follows conceptual narratives where clothing becomes a form of visual communication, seen here in his layered cotton muslins, silk organzas and denims adorned with paint. He often contrasts fabrics, reflecting a minimal colour palette, and is inspired, designed and built here in Aotearoa. Jacob formed his brand Jake and says that being a Māori fashion designer, knowing our tikanga plays an important role in every Jake collection, where garments reflect a story and connection to Te Awa Māori. And Jacob's also a member of the Kahui Fashion Collective, founded by Kiri Nathan, which is to create a platform of support for all Māori fashion designers. At Massey, we encourage students to be flexible, innovative and critical thinkers, challenging how things are done through fashion design, whilst providing them with unique insights into the workings of our dynamic and global industry. Samantha Murray submitted this avant-garde collection called Sweet Suspension, which is a collection of lusciously coloured, fruit-scented garments, which Sam describes as an exercise in rethinking garment construction to make clothing from liquid. And Sam's collection is zero waste, from a material called Fiberform, and she had help from the science department in evolving this collection. She poured a solution into plastic moulds, which she also created, and this resulted in a lightweight structure without a single thread or stitch. And it would be great if this technology developed into being able to wear the dress one day, dissolving it overnight, and remoulding it into a garment tomorrow. During her time at Massey, fashion student Gemma Cornish dreamt up her brand Gemma Lee. Here you see her degree collection, which explored bright, bold print designs using eco-printing inks as a response to the lack of diversity in swimwear, particularly with wetsuits and limited colour palettes of predominantly black, grey or navy neoprene. She went on to develop luxurious swimwear made from 100% recycled materials, such as discarded fishing nets and other post-consumer products, and her business is proud to promote the reduction in world waste through using the regenerated fabrics as a contribution to the Healthy Seas initiative, a journey from waste to wear. As her ethical and sustainable business developed, Gemma Lee moved exclusively to using premium limestone-based eco-friendly neoprene, known as geoprene, which unlike petroleum-based neoprene, is 94% water impermeable, making for warmer, lighter, more durable and much stretchier wetsuits. Her business model is based on limited production runs, which are announced ahead of the release through social media, meaning she has no surplus stock at the end of each season. Her manufacturers align to a worldwide responsible accredited production, a standard of ethical social compliance certification that ensures production facilities operate in a safe and socially responsible manner and minimising environmental impact. To end with, I would like to share a short clip with you from our most recent trip to India, which was right before COVID hit. We have led sustainable fashion tours to China, Vietnam and India to better understand the fashion and textile supply chain. Through interrogating the current fast fashion system, these tours explore and encourage students to think about responsible and regenerative fashion systems for the future. We've formed partnerships with international fashion universities to bring students together on collaborative sustainable fashion and textile projects. During this trip, we produced a short documentary of the sustainable collaborative student projects undertaken by fashion, textile and creative media production students. This short excerpt from our documentary called A Living Culture was filmed by Ben Dickens and Mason Rudd. The clip is from the time we spent with Diraj Chippa and his family of artisan indigo dyers and dabu printers in Bagru, which is a rural village in Rajasthan. The business spans 4 generations of printers, and they are constantly redefining their business to continue their slow fashion processes and succeed alongside the challenges posed by the fast fashion system. I hope you enjoy.
That I am not satisfied because without exploring we can't grow. I don't want to stop my mind like traditional people. So this is typical process. There are few artisans are alive to do this. If somebody talk about further printing, so there are only 2 or 3 names. Why? Then I thought, why only 2 or 3 names? It should be more. It will take time, business wise or anything wise. But I am doing, just doing. So every piece is having my sweating. Every piece, I can say that.
Thank you for your time. And if you would like any further information on fashion or textiles, please do contact myself, Sue Prescott, or Angela Kilford at www.creative.massey.ac.nz. Ka kite.